The rain fell softly on the streets of Seoul, mixing with the ash that always seemed to float in the air these days. Han Mirai sat at her usual table in the corner cafe, her sketchbook open before her. She drew slowly, carefully, her pencil moving across the paper in strange patterns that looked like nothing and everything at once. The cafe was nearly empty. Most people stayed home when the Varkesh patrols came through, but Mirai came here every day, rain or shine, occupation or not. The alien soldiers had searched her bag so many times they barely looked anymore. Just a girl with a sketchbook, harmless. She liked it that way. Mirai was 23 years old, small and thin, with dark hair that fell past her shoulders. She wore the same faded jacket every day, the one with paint stains on the sleeves. Her hands were always covered in ink. The Varkesh soldiers called her the Ink Girl when they bothered to notice her at all. The door chimed. 3 Varkesh soldiers entered, their gray skin gleaming under the cafe lights. They were tall, taller than any human, with 4 arms and eyes that glowed faintly red. Their armor made clicking sounds as they moved. Mirai kept drawing. She had learned not to look up. Identification, one soldier barked at the cafe owner. The old man hurried over with his papers, hands shaking. The soldiers barely glanced at them. They were bored. Occupation duty in a pacified sector was not glorious work. One soldier noticed Mirai. He walked over, his boots heavy on the floor. "You girl, what are you doing?" Mirai looked up slowly. "Drawing," she said quietly. The soldier laughed. It sounded like metal scraping metal. "Drawing? While your world burns?" He grabbed her sketchbook, flipping through the pages. His companions came closer, curious. "What is this?" the soldier asked, holding up a page. "These symbols. What do they mean?" Mirai shrugged. "Nothing. They just come to me. In dreams." The soldiers passed the sketchbook around, mocking the strange geometric patterns. Circles within circles, lines that bent in impossible ways, shapes that seemed to move when you weren't looking directly at them. "Humans and their useless art," one soldier said. He tossed the sketchbook back to Mirai. It hit the table, slid across the wet surface, and fell onto the floor where rainwater had pooled near her feet. Mirai reached down quickly, but it was too late. The water had already soaked into the pages. The fresh ink from her latest drawing began to run, spreading through the water in thin black streams. Then something strange happened. The ink began to glow. It started as a faint blue light, like bioluminescence in deep water. Then it grew brighter. The geometric pattern Mirai had drawn seemed to pulse alive, the lines rearranging themselves in the spreading water. The soldiers stepped back. "What is this?" one demanded. Mirai stared at her drawing, her heart pounding. This had never happened before. The soldier nearest to her raised his weapon, a pulse rifle that hummed with energy. He aimed it at Mirai. "Explain, now." But before he could fire, his weapon sparked. Blue electricity ran along its surface, the same color as the glowing ink. The rifle began to smoke. The soldier dropped it with a curse, but it was too late. The weapon exploded in a flash of light and heat. The soldier was thrown backward into his companions. All 3 crashed to the floor. The cafe owner screamed and ran into the back room. Mirai grabbed her sketchbook and ran. She burst out of the cafe into the rain, her heart hammering in her chest. Behind her, she heard the soldiers shouting, calling for backup. She ran through the narrow streets, turning corners at random, her wet shoes slapping against the pavement. She didn't stop until she reached the old market district, abandoned since the occupation began. Mirai ducked into a doorway, pressing herself against the wall, trying to catch her breath. "What did you just do?" Mirai spun around. A man stood in the shadows watching her. She recognized him immediately. Kang Doyan. They had been friends once before the invasion, before everything changed. "Doyan," she breathed. He stepped closer. He looked different than she remembered, harder. There was a scar across his left cheek, and he carried weapons openly now. He was part of the resistance. Everyone knew it, but no one said it out loud. "I saw what happened," Doyan said. "In the cafe, that weapon exploded, and your drawing was glowing." "I don't know what happened," Mirai said quickly. "I've never seen anything like that before. Show me the drawing." "Doyan, I don't..." "Show me." Mirai hesitated, then opened her sketchbook. The page was still damp, but the glow had faded. The symbol she had drawn looked ordinary again, just lines and shapes. Doyan stared at it for a long moment. "You said these come to you in dreams?" "Yes, ever since the occupation started. I see them when I sleep. Patterns, symbols, I don't know what they mean. I just draw them. Draw another one, Doyen said. Right now. What? Why? Because if what I just saw was real, if your drawings can destroy Varkesh weapons, then you're not just an artist anymore, Mirai. You're a weapon. And we need weapons. Mirai felt cold despite the summer rain. I'm not a weapon? You're just what? A girl with a sketchbook? That's what you want them to think. But I know you, Mirai. I've known you since we were children. You've always seen things differently than everyone else. Maybe that's what this is. Maybe you can see something the rest of us can't. Mirai looked down at her sketchbook. Her hands were shaking. She thought about the soldier's weapon exploding. She thought about the blue glow, the way the symbol had seemed to come alive. I'm scared, she whispered. Good, Doyen said. Fear keeps you alive. Now draw. Mirai flipped to a clean page. She closed her eyes, trying to remember the dreams. They came to her every night now, more vivid than before. She saw vast spaces filled with light. She saw symbols floating in darkness. She saw hands, human hands, drawing patterns that changed the world. She opened her eyes and began to draw. This time she chose a different symbol. Something simpler. A circle with 3 lines radiating from the center, each line ending in a smaller circle. As she drew, she felt something shift inside her mind. It was like a door opening or a memory returning from somewhere deep and forgotten. When she finished, the symbol began to glow. Faintly at first, then stronger. The light was warm, not blue this time, but golden. Doyen took a step back. What does it do? I don't know, Mirai said. But even as she spoke, she did know. Somehow she understood. Protection. It creates a barrier. As if responding to her words, the air around them shimmered. Mirai felt a gentle pressure like standing in a bubble. A moment later, a Varkesh patrol drone flew overhead, its sensors scanning the area. The red light passed over them, but the drone kept moving. It hadn't detected them. Doyen stared at Mirai. They can't see us. The symbol hides us, Mirai said. She was shaking harder now. Doyen, what's happening to me? He grabbed her shoulders, his grip firm but not painful. Listen to me. You need to come with me. There are others. People fighting back. They need to see this. They need to know what you can do. I don't want to fight, Mirai said. I just want to draw. Then draw for us, Doyen said. Draw for everyone who can't fight back. Draw for the people the Varkesh killed. Draw for the world we lost. Your symbols might be the only chance we have. Mirai looked at her sketchbook, at the glowing symbol that had hidden them from the drone. She thought about all the other drawings she had made, all the patterns that had come to her in dreams. Were they all like this? Did they all have power? The rain continued to fall. Somewhere in the distance, she heard the sound of Varkesh ships flying overhead. The occupation continued. The world stayed broken. But maybe, just maybe, she could draw something new. Okay, Mirai said quietly. Take me to them. Doyen smiled for the first time. Come on. The hideout isn't far. They left the market district together, 2 shadows moving through the rain. Mirai clutched her sketchbook to her chest, feeling its weight in a new way. Not just paper and ink anymore, something more. Something that might change everything. The resistance hideout was underground, beneath an old subway station that had been destroyed in the first days of the invasion. Doyen led Mirai through tunnels that smelled of damp concrete and rust. Electric lights flickered overhead, powered by generators that hummed in the distance. They passed guards who nodded at Doyen, but stared at Mirai with suspicion. She kept her head down, following close behind her old friend. Her sketchbook felt heavy in her arms. The tunnel opened into a large chamber. Perhaps 50 people were there, some sitting around tables covered with maps and equipment, others cleaning weapons or cooking food over portable stoves. Everyone looked tired. Everyone looked angry. A man stood at the center of the room, pointing at a holographic map projected above a table. He was older than Doyen, maybe 40, with gray in his hair and scars covering his exposed arms. When he saw Doyen enter, he straightened. You're late, the man said. His voice was rough, like he had been shouting for years. I brought someone, Doyen replied. Lee Hyunwoo, this is Han Mirai. You need to see what she can do. Hyunwoo looked at Mirai. His eyes were hard, evaluating. I don't have time for new recruits today. We lost 3 people in yesterday's raid. I need fighters, not... She can destroy Varkesh weapons, Doyen interrupted. I saw it. She draws symbols and they come alive. They have power. The room went quiet. Everyone was looking at them now. Hyunwoo's expression didn't change. "That's impossible. Let me show you," Miri said quietly. She was terrified, but she opened her sketchbook. "I need a Varkesh weapon, or any of their technology." A young woman approached from the side of the room. She had sharp eyes and wore a white coat stained with oil and blood. "I'm Choi Sun-hee," she said. "I study their technology. We have pieces of their equipment here." She gestured to a table covered with broken Varkesh devices. Mirai walked to the table. She picked up a small scanner, the kind the Varkesh used to track humans. It was still active, blinking with red lights. "Watch," she said. She flipped to a new page in her sketchbook and began to draw. This time she drew quickly, letting the symbol flow from her pencil without thinking. It was different from the ones before. Angular, sharp, like lightning frozen in place. As she drew, the symbol began to glow. The red light from the scanner flickered. Then the device sparked and went dark. Dead. Sun-hee grabbed the scanner, examining it with wide eyes. "It's completely fried. The circuits are melted from the inside, but there's no heat, no external damage. How did you do that?" "I don't know," Mirai said honestly. "The symbols just come to me." Hyunwoo stepped closer. For the first time there was something other than hardness in his eyes. Interest, maybe even hope. "Can you do it again?" "Yes. Can you do it to bigger things? Weapons? Ships? I don't know, maybe." Hyunwoo looked at Doyen, then back at Mirai. "Where did you learn this?" "I didn't learn it. It started after the invasion. I have dreams, visions. I see these symbols, and when I draw them, they do things." A young man with messy hair pushed his way through the crowd. He carried a laptop covered in stickers. "That's impossible," he said. "Symbols can't affect technology. That's not how physics works." "This is Yoon Taejin," Doyen said. "He's our hacker." "I'm telling you it's impossible," Taejin insisted. He looked at the dead scanner in Sun-hee's hands. Unless it's not the symbols themselves. Maybe it's some kind of quantum field manipulation, but humans can't do that. We don't have psionic abilities." "Maybe we do," Sun-hee said slowly. She was still examining the scanner. "Maybe we just never knew about it." She looked at Mirai. "Can I study you? Run some tests?" "What kind of tests?" "Brain scans. Blood work. I want to see if there's something different about you." "Something that explains this," Mirai nodded. "Okay, but after I want answers. I want to know what's happening to me." Over the next 3 hours, Sun-hee ran every test she could think of. She scanned Mirai's brain while she drew symbols. She took blood samples. She even had Mirai try to affect different Varkesh devices while hooked up to monitoring equipment. The results were strange. "Your brain activity is off the charts when you draw," Sun-hee explained, showing Mirai a screen covered in graphs, specifically in areas we don't fully understand. Parts of the brain that most people never use. "And your blood. There's something in it. Extra proteins we've never seen before. They appear in higher concentrations when you're using your abilities." "What does that mean?" Mirai asked. "I think it means this is biological. You're not using technology or magic. This is something your body can do naturally. Or maybe something your body learned to do." Hyunwoo had been watching from the doorway. He entered now, his expression serious. "Can others do this? Could we teach people?" "I don't know," Sun-hee admitted. "Maybe. If it's biological, there might be others with the same potential." "We need to find them," Hyunwoo said immediately. "If we can create a team of people with these abilities, we could actually fight back." "Really fight back?" Doyen nodded. "I'll spread the word. Carefully. We ask people if they've been having strange dreams, seeing patterns, things like that." "Wait," Mirai said. "You want to turn this into a weapon? Turn people like me into weapons?" "I want to save our world," Hyunwoo said. "The Varkesh are killing us slowly. They take our resources. They execute anyone who resists. Yesterday they killed 3 of my people for stealing food." "Food. If you can help us fight back, why wouldn't we try?" Mirai didn't have an answer for that. The days passed quickly. Word spread through the resistance network, carefully and quietly. They were looking for people who had strange dreams, people who saw patterns, people who felt different since the invasion began. 12 people came forward. Sun-hee tested them all. Only one had the same brain patterns as Mirai, a middle-aged man named Shin Minho who worked in construction before the invasion. He said he had been drawing strange shapes in the dirt at night, not understanding why. When Mirai showed him how to channel the symbols, his hands glowed. He could create barriers, walls of solid light that stopped bullets. "It's real," Taejin whispered, watching Minho create a shimmering wall in the testing area. "We can actually do this." More people came. By the end of the second week, they had found 5 individuals with symbol abilities. Each one was different. A young woman named Nam Sora could draw symbols that shut down electronics at range. An old teacher could create symbols that healed minor wounds. A teenage boy could make things burn with his drawings. Mirai taught them what she knew, though she was learning herself. The symbols came from somewhere deep inside, from a place she couldn't name. Dreams showed her new patterns every night, more complex, more powerful. One evening, a stranger came to the hideout. He walked with the confidence of someone who had been there before, but Mirai had never seen him. He was well-dressed, unusual for the resistance. His face was calm, almost cheerful. "Park Ji-woo," Hyunwoo said coldly. "You're taking a risk coming here." "I had to warn you," Ji-woo said. He looked worried now, the cheerful mask falling away. "The Varkesh know something is wrong. They've detected quantum anomalies in this sector. They don't know what's causing it, but they're investigating. If they track it back to you, you're a collaborator," Doyen said with disgust. "You work for them." "I work with them so I can help you," Ji-woo replied. "I have access to their communications." "Their plans. How do you think you've stayed hidden this long?" Hyunwoo held up a hand. "He's telling the truth. Ji-woo is one of ours. Deep cover. Has been since the beginning," Ji-woo nodded. "But things are getting dangerous. The quantum anomalies started when she started using her powers." He looked at Mirai. "They can't track you exactly, but they know something unusual is happening in Seoul. They're sending more troops, more sensors. Then we move faster," Hyunwoo said. "Mirai, how many people can you train?" "I don't know. Maybe 1 in 100 has the ability. We need to test more people. Then we test the whole resistance, every person in every cell. We find everyone who can do this." Sunhee had been silent, studying data on her tablet. She looked up suddenly. "I found something. Old records from before the invasion. Hidden in archives the Varkesh didn't bother destroying because they thought they were just mythology." She projected an image above the table, ancient text in a language Mirai didn't recognize. "This is from an archaeological site in Greece dated to over 3,000 years ago. And look." She pointed to symbols carved into stone in the image. They were identical to the ones Mirai had been drawing. "What does this mean?" Mirai asked, her voice barely a whisper. "It means humans have had this ability before," Sunhee said. "Long ago. Then we lost it, or forgot it. But the invasion, the trauma, the stress, maybe it triggered something in our DNA. Maybe it woke something that was sleeping." "Can we use this?" Hyunwoo asked. "Yes," Sunhee said. "If I'm right, more people will start manifesting abilities as the occupation continues. The worse things get, the more our species will fight back at a biological level." "Then the Varkesh brought this on themselves," Doyen said with a grim smile. Mirai looked at her sketchbook, at the symbols that had changed her life. She thought about all the people she would train, all the weapons she would help create. She had been an artist. Now she was something else. "How much time do we have?" she asked Ji-woo. "Before they tighten security? Maybe a few months. Use it wisely." 6 months had changed everything. The resistance hideout had grown. New tunnels connected to old buildings. More generators powered more lights. And in a large chamber that once stored subway cars, 47 people practiced drawing symbols in the air, their hands glowing with different colors. They called themselves the Ink Corps. Mirai stood at the front of the chamber, watching her students practice. Each person's symbols were unique, manifesting based on something deep inside them. Doyen's symbols exploded with kinetic force, turning into invisible hammers that could dent steel. Shin Minho created barriers that could stop bullets. Nam Sora drew patterns that made electronics fail instantly. "Again," Mirai called out. "Focus on the feeling, not just the shape. The symbol is a key. Your intention is what unlocks the door." She had learned so much in 6 months. The symbols weren't just drawings. They were a language that spoke directly to reality. Each line, each curve, each angle changed something fundamental about the world around them. The trick was learning to speak clearly. A young recruit named Kwon Jisoo raised her hand. "How do you know which symbols to use?" "There are thousands of them. The symbols choose you as much as you choose them," Mirai explained. "Pay attention to your dreams. Pay attention to what feels right. Your subconscious knows the language better than your waking mind. Hyunwoo entered the chamber with Sunhee and a man Mirai had never seen before. The stranger was tall for a Varkesh, but his gray skin had a different texture. His forearms hung loosely at his sides. He looked nervous. "Everyone, take a break," Hyunwoo announced. He gestured for Mirai to join them in the side room. When the door closed, Hyunwoo spoke. "This is Bae Youngjae. He's a translator for the Varkesh. Or he was. He defected 3 days ago." Youngjae bowed his head. He spoke Korean with a strange accent. "I need to tell you something important. About the symbols. About why the Varkesh fear them." "They fear them?" Mirai asked. "Yes. When I saw the reports about quantum anomalies in Seoul, I started researching old Varkesh texts, ancient records from before my people became an empire." Youngji pulled out a data pad and showed them an image. Strange writing filled the screen. "This is 10,000 years old. It speaks of a war against a species that could write reality itself. Humans?" Sunhee asked, leaning forward. "The text doesn't name them, but it describes them. 2 arms, 2 legs, creative, dangerous. The glyph writers, they were called. My ancestors fought them across 3 star systems. Thousands of Varkesh died. Then suddenly the glyph writers vanished. My people thought they had been destroyed. But now..." He looked at Mirai. "Now you're here, doing what the ancient enemy did. What happened to them?" Mirai asked. "The glyph writers? No one knows. The texts say they retreated to their homeworld and were never seen again. Some Varkesh believe they destroyed themselves. Others think they evolved beyond physical form. The records are unclear. Could they have been humans?" Doyen asked. "Ancient humans?" Sunny nodded slowly. "It fits with what I found. The archaeological evidence suggests humans had these abilities 3,000 years ago, maybe longer. What if we didn't lose the ability? What if we chose to suppress it?" "Why would we do that?" Mirai asked. "Because it's dangerous," Sunhee said. "Power like this, tied to emotion and intention, could easily be abused. Maybe our ancestors decided it was safer to forget." "Until now," Hyunwoo said. "Until we needed it to survive." Youngjae looked at Mirai with something like fear in his eyes. "The Varkesh High Command is terrified. They've seen the reports. Weapons failing. Patrols disappearing. They know what you are, even if they don't want to admit it. And they're building something to stop you." "What kind of something?" Hyunwoo asked. "A quantum nullifier. A weapon that suppresses psionic activity across an entire planet. They're building it in orbit. If they activate it, none of you will be able to use your abilities again." The room went silent. "How long do we have?" Mirai asked. "The nullifier will be operational in 30 days. Maybe less." Hyunwoo slammed his fist on the table. "Then we don't have time to wait. We need to prove we can fight. We need to show the Varkesh and the rest of humanity that resistance is possible." "What are you suggesting?" Doyen asked. "An attack. A real one. Not just sabotage or hit and run. We hit them hard. We destroy something they care about." Over the next week, they planned the operation. Intelligence from Jiwoo revealed a Varkesh supply depot outside the city. It held weapons, ammunition, and supplies for the occupation forces. Heavily guarded, but not impossible. The night of the attack was cold and clear. Mirai led a team of 15 symbol users through the darkness. They wore dark clothes and carried no weapons except the symbols they could draw. Doyen walked beside her. "Are you scared?" he asked quietly. "Terrified," Mirai admitted. "Good. Stay scared. It'll keep you alive." They reached the perimeter of the depot. Tall fences topped with razor wire surrounded the facility. Guard towers stood at each corner, and Varkesh soldiers patrolled with weapons ready. Mirai closed her eyes and drew a symbol in the air. Her finger left trails of golden light. The symbol hung there for a moment, then expanded. A dome of faint shimmer covered the team, hiding them from sensors and sight. "Move," Mirai whispered. They approached the fence. Shin Minho drew his barrier symbol, but shaped it differently this time. The light formed into a cutting edge. He ran it along the fence, and the metal parted silently. Inside the compound, they split into groups. Nam, Sora, and 3 others moved toward the communications tower. Their job was to disable the alarm systems. Doyen took 5 symbol users toward the weapon storage. Mirai led the rest to the main power generator. The attack happened in silence. No gunfire, no explosions. Just symbols drawn in the dark, glowing briefly before they did their work. Sora drew patterns in the air near the communications tower. Sparks flew from the equipment. Screens went dark. The tower fell silent. Doyun and his team reached the weapons storage. He drew his kinetic symbol, the one that had become his specialty. When he released it, the entire building shuddered. The walls cracked. The roof collapsed inward. Varkish weapons buried under tons of concrete and steel. Mirai reached the generator. It was massive, humming with power. She had practiced this symbol for weeks, but never on something this large. She took a deep breath and began to draw. The symbol was complex. Layers of circles within circles, lines that intersected at precise angles. As she drew, she felt the power flowing through her more than ever before. The symbol grew larger, brighter. When she finished, she pushed the symbol forward with her mind. It struck the generator. For a moment, nothing happened. Then the generator began to shake. Lightning arced from its surface. The humming grew louder, rising to a scream. "Run!" Mirai shouted. The team sprinted for the exit. Behind them, the generator exploded. Not with fire, but with pure energy. A wave of blue light washed over the compound, shorting out every Varkesh device. Soldiers fell as their armor failed. Vehicles died where they stood. Even the lights in the guard towers went dark. The Ink Corps escaped into the night, leaving chaos behind them. Back at the hideout, they watched the news reports. The Varkesh media called it a terrorist attack. They showed images of the destroyed depot. Jiwoo, still undercover, sent a message saying the Varkesh High Command was in emergency meetings. They didn't understand how humans had destroyed the depot without conventional weapons. "They're afraid," Hyunwoo said with satisfaction. "Good, let them be afraid, but not everyone celebrated." A woman named Kwon Jisoo, who had asked about symbols months ago, approached Mirai. "Can I talk to you?" They went to a quiet corner. Jisoo looked troubled. "I've been thinking about what we're doing. These symbols, this power. We're using it to kill. We're using it to fight back," Mirai said. "Is there a difference? You're an artist, Mirai. You create beautiful things. Now you're creating weapons. Doesn't that bother you?" It did bother her. Every night. What choice do we have? I don't know. But I think we need to be careful. Power like this, it changes people. Mirai nodded slowly. She had felt it herself. The more she used the symbols, the easier it became. The more natural. Sometimes she caught herself drawing without thinking, her fingers tracing patterns in the air. Before she could respond, alarms blared throughout the hideout. "They found us," Taijin shouted, running through the corridor. "Varkesh forces incoming!" "Multiple units." Everyone rushed to defensive positions. Mirai felt her heart racing. The Varkesh had never found their main base before. Through the tunnel entrance, they heard the sound of marching boots. Many boots, then a voice amplified and cold. "Humans of the Resistance. This is War Mistress Velkara of the Deathmark Legion. You have one chance to surrender. Send out the symbol users and the rest of you will be spared." Hyunwoo looked at Mirai. "Can you shield us? Like you did at the depot?" "Maybe, but not for long. Not against a full assault," Velkara's voice came again. "You have 30 seconds. After that, we begin executing the civilians we've captured." Starting with the children, Mirai felt cold. She's bluffing. But through a camera feed that Taijin pulled up, they could see them. 20 civilians, hands bound, kneeling in the street above. Varkesh soldiers stood behind them with weapons ready. One soldier held a small girl who couldn't have been more than 6 years old. News traveled fast across the galaxy, even news the Varkesh tried to suppress. Footage of the depot attack spread through underground channels. Videos of the shield protecting an entire city block appeared on resistance networks across dozens of occupied worlds. The images were blurry, the details unclear, but the message was unmistakable. Humans could do something impossible. And they were winning. Mirai watched the reports on screens in the hideout's communication center. Uprisings had begun on 7 Varkesh-controlled worlds. Alien species whose names she couldn't pronounce were fighting back with new courage, hoping they might have powers like humans. They didn't, but they fought anyway. "You've become a symbol yourself," said a voice behind her. Mirai turned. A woman stood there, young, maybe 20, with a camera hanging around her neck. She smiled nervously. "I'm Kwon Jisoo. I know we met before, but I don't think I properly introduced myself. I'm documenting everything. The Resistance, the Ink Corps. You. Why?" Mirai asked. "Because people need hope. They need to see that fighting back is possible. And you..." Jisoo raised her camera. "You're the face of that hope. The artist who became a warrior. Do you mind if I ask you some questions?" Mirai wanted to say no. She wanted to hide. But Hyunwoo had told her that morale mattered as much as weapons. Okay, but make it quick. Jisu's questions were simple at first. Where did Mirai grow up? What was life like before the invasion? Then they got harder. How did it feel to kill? Did she think the war would ever end? What would she do if they won? I don't know if we'll win, Mirai said honestly. But we have to try. Because the alternative is living on our knees forever. And the symbols? Where do they come from? I think they've always been part of us. Part of humanity. We just forgot. Mirai looked at her hands. Or maybe we were too afraid to remember. The interview aired on every resistance channel. Within days, Mirai's face was everywhere. Graffiti artists painted her image on walls. Underground poets wrote verses about the girl with the sketchbook. Parents named their children after her. She hated it. I'm not a hero, she told Doyun one evening. I'm just trying to survive. Heroes are just people who don't give up, he replied. And you haven't given up. None of us have, but the attention brought danger. Varkesh propaganda networks began running counter messages. They showed destroyed human settlements, claiming the Ink Corps was responsible. They broadcasted confessions from captured humans, forced to say the symbols were too dangerous, too unpredictable. Some of it was true. 3 days earlier, a symbol user had lost control during training. The explosion killed 2 people and collapsed part of the tunnel system. Mirai had been there. She had watched the young man's hands glow too bright, watched him scream as the symbol spiraled out of his control. She had tried to stop it, but she was too slow. She still saw his face when she closed her eyes. Sun-hee found her after the memorial service. It's not your fault. I trained him. I should have seen the signs. The symbols are getting stronger, Sun-hee said. I've been monitoring everyone's abilities. Each week the power output increases. It's like your bodies are adapting, learning to channel more energy. Is that good or bad? Both. It means you're becoming more effective weapons. But it also means the risk is growing. If someone loses control with power like this, Sun-hee didn't finish the sentence. She didn't need to. A meeting was called in the main chamber. All the cell leaders had gathered, along with Youngjae, who now served as their advisor on Varkesh military matters. Hyunwoo stood at the center. We've received reports from our agents in the Varkesh government. The empire is fracturing. Different factions are fighting over how to deal with us. Youngjae nodded. One faction wants to destroy Earth completely, turn it into an example. Another wants to capture and study your symbol users. And a third faction, he paused. A third faction has sent us a secret message. What kind of message? Doyen asked. Youngjae activated a hologram. A Varkesh general appeared, old and scarred. He spoke in his own language, which Youngjae translated. I am General Krell of the Northern Fleets. I see the Empire is dying from within, corrupted by endless conquest. You humans have proven something important, that even the mighty can fall. I offer an alliance. Help me overthrow the current leadership and I will grant Earth independence. The room erupted in argument. Some people wanted to accept immediately. Others suspected a trap. Can we trust him? Hyunwoo asked Youngjae. Krell is known as an honorable soldier, but honor and truth are not always the same thing. He might believe he'll grant you freedom, then change his mind once he has power. So what do we do? Mirai asked. We keep fighting, Hyunwoo said. We don't put our fate in alien hands. We finish what we started. But that night, Mirai couldn't sleep. She went to the training chamber where she spent hours drawing symbol after symbol, trying to understand them better. Each one was a word in a language she was still learning to speak. Sun-hee found her there after midnight. You should rest. I can't. Every time I close my eyes, I see that boy. The one who died. Sun-hee sat down beside her. I've been studying the symbols more deeply, and I think I understand what they really are. Tell me. They're not magic. They're not even really psionic in the traditional sense. They're instructions, written in a language that the universe itself can read. When you draw a symbol, you're literally telling reality to be different, and reality listens. That's impossible. So are you. So is everything we've done. Sun-hee pulled up data on her tablet. I've been comparing notes with scientists in other resistance cells. We found evidence that the symbols tap into quantum fields that underpin physical law. You're essentially hacking the source code of existence. And what happens if we hack it wrong? What happens if we break something we can't fix? I don't know. That's what scares me. A week later, disaster struck. The Varkesh launched a massive orbital bombardment on the Resistance's largest base in Europe. Thousands died. The attack came without warning, bypassing all their defenses. The message was clear. The Varkesh were done playing games. Hyunwoo called an emergency meeting. We need to respond. Show them we're not afraid. Or we need to hide, argued another cell leader. Regroup. We're not ready for open war. When will we be ready? Hyunwoo demanded. They're building another nullifier. In 2 weeks, it'll be operational. If we don't stop it, all of this ends. The symbols stop working. We lose our only advantage. Then we stop the nullifier, Mirai said quietly. Everyone looked at her. How? Hyunwoo asked. We go up there. To orbit. We board their platform and destroy it from within. That's suicide, Doyen said. Maybe. But it's also our only chance. Mirai stood up. The nullifier is designed to suppress symbol use across an entire planet. But what if we get close to it? What if we attack it directly before it's fully powered up? The field won't be strong enough to stop us. Youngji studied a diagram of the nullifier platform. She's right. The suppression field expands outward. At close range, it's weak. But getting to the platform, you'd need to steal a Varkesh transport, bypass security, fight through guards. We've done harder things, Doyen said, have we? Son, he asked. This is orbital. There's no retreat. If you fail, you die in space. If we don't try, we all die anyway, Mirai said. At least this way we're fighting. The vote was close, but they agreed to attempt it. Every symbol user in the Ink Corps would be part of the mission. 47 people. All of them. They spent the next 10 days preparing. Stealing a Varkesh transport took 3 days of careful planning and a diversion that cost 5 resistance fighters their lives. Learning to pilot it took another day. Creating new symbols designed for zero-gravity combat took the rest of the time. The night before the mission, Mirai sat with her original sketchbook, the one she'd carried the day this all began. She flipped through the pages, looking at the early symbols. They seemed so simple now, so innocent. Doyen joined her. Do you ever wish you'd never discovered the symbols? That you could go back to just being an artist? Every day, Mirai admitted. But then I think about everyone the Varkesh killed. Everyone they're still killing. And I know I can't go back. Even if you could? Even if I could. They sat in silence for a while. Then Doyen spoke again. I need to tell you something. In case I don't survive tomorrow. Don't talk like that. Listen. When we were kids, I used to watch you draw for hours. You'd sit in the park with your sketchbook and you'd create entire worlds. I thought it was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And I thought you were the most amazing person I'd ever known. Mirai looked at him. I'm not saying this because I want something. I just want you to know. In case everything goes wrong tomorrow, I want you to know that someone saw you before all this, before the war, before the symbols, and thought you were remarkable. She reached out and took his hand. We're going to survive tomorrow. Promise? Promise. She was wrong. The mission began before dawn. The stolen Varkesh transport launched from a hidden site, accelerating toward orbit. Inside, the Ink Corps prepared their symbols. Each person had spent days designing patterns for space combat, but no one knew if they would work in zero gravity. As they approached the nullifier platform, alarms blared. They've detected us, Taejin reported from the pilot's seat. Varkesh fighters incoming. War Mistress Velkara moved like water, her forearms blurring as she drew her own weapons. She was enhanced, augmented with technology that made her faster and stronger than any natural being. Her armor gleamed under the nullifier's light. You think your symbols can defeat me? She asked. I've killed 100 resistance fighters. You're just another human who doesn't know when to surrender. Doyen struck first. His kinetic symbol flew from his hands, an invisible hammer of pure force. Velkara twisted aside, the attack missing her by inches. She returned fire with a pulse weapon. Doyen drew a barrier symbol, but the weapon's energy overwhelmed it. He was thrown backward, crashing into the wall. Doyen! Mirai screamed, but she couldn't reach him. Velkara was already moving toward her, weapons raised. Mirai drew frantically, symbol after symbol. Fire, barriers, explosions. The War Mistress dodged or blocked them all. She had been studying the Ink Corps. She knew their patterns now. Your power is impressive, Velkara said, circling Mirai like a predator. But predictable. You're still thinking like an artist. I think like a soldier, she fired again. Mirai barely managed to create a barrier in time. The impact drove her to her knees. Behind them, the nullifier began to power up. The hum grew louder. The device was almost ready. Once activated, it would suppress every symbol on Earth. The ink core would become ordinary humans again. Mirai thought about the world breaker symbol she had been designing. She could draw it now. Destroy the nullifier. Destroy the platform. Destroy everything. But Doyun was here. The other members of the ink core were scattered throughout the station. If she used the world breaker, they would all die. There had to be another way. She closed her eyes, reaching deep inside herself. Deeper than she had ever gone before. She thought about all the symbols she had learned. All the patterns. They were a language. A way of speaking to reality itself. What if she used a different kind of sentence? Not a command. Not a weapon. Something else entirely. Understanding hit her like lightning. The symbols weren't meant to destroy. They were meant to connect. She opened her eyes and began to draw. But this time the symbol was different from anything she had created before. It spiraled outward in complex patterns, each line connecting to the next in ways that seemed almost alive. She drew with both hands, the symbol growing larger and more intricate. "What are you doing?" Velkara demanded. She fired her weapon, but the energy dissipated before reaching Mirai. The symbol was protecting her now, feeding on the attack itself. "Something you won't understand," Mirai replied. "I'm choosing." The symbol expanded, filling the entire chamber with golden light. And then it did something impossible. It connected to every mind on the platform. Varkesh human, everyone. A bridge of pure consciousness, Velkara gasped. Her weapons fell from her hands. Through the symbol, Mirai could feel the war mistress's mind, her memories. Her pain. Velkara had been a soldier her entire life. She had fought in 100 wars, killed in the name of an empire she never questioned. But underneath the soldier there was something else. A child who had been taken from her family and trained to kill. A person who had never known peace. And now, through Mirai's symbol, Velkara felt what Mirai felt. The loss, the hope, the desperate need to protect those she loved. The weight of every death she had caused. The war mistress fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. "Make it stop," she whispered. "Please," but Mirai couldn't stop. The symbol had taken on a life of its own, spreading through the quantum fields that connected all consciousness. It reached beyond the platform, beyond orbit, spreading across the entire Varkesh fleet in the solar system. Every Varkesh soldier, every commander, every crew member suddenly felt what it meant to be human. They experienced human joy and human suffering. They felt the weight of the occupation, the pain of families torn apart, the courage of resistance fighters who died for freedom. It was overwhelming. Ships stopped firing. Soldiers dropped their weapons. Across the entire battle space, fighting ceased. Doyen pulled himself to his feet, blood dripping from his wounds. He limped toward Mirai. "What did you do?" "I showed them," Mirai said. Her voice sounded distant, as if speaking from very far away. "I showed them what we are." The nullifier began to shake. The device was designed to suppress psionic activity. But Mirai's symbol was too strong, too complex. The nullifier couldn't contain it. Cracks appeared in the metal column. Light leaked from every seam. "The platform is going to explode," Sun Hee's voice came over the radio. She was somewhere else on the station, monitoring systems. "The nullifier is overloading. We have maybe 5 minutes before everything goes up. Then we leave," Hyunwoo ordered. "Everyone back to the transport now." But Mirai couldn't move. The symbol had become part of her. If she let go now, the connection would break. The Varkesh would return to their old ways. Nothing would change. She thought about all the people who had died. Jiwoo, who had sacrificed himself to save them. The resistance fighters who fell in every battle. The symbol user who had lost control and died screaming. She thought about her life before the war, when art was just art and symbols were just shapes on paper. She thought about Doyun, bleeding and broken but still standing. "Go," she told him. "Get everyone out. Not without you. Doyun, I can't let go. If I do, this all means nothing. Then I'm staying. You'll die. I already promised you we'd survive this together. I keep my promises." Mirai wanted to argue, but the symbol was consuming all her strength. She could barely speak. Stubborn. Always have been. Across the station, the Ink Corps fought their way back to the transport. Shin Minho created barriers to protect the retreat. Nam Sora disabled security systems. One by one, they escaped, but Mirai and Doyun remained in the core chamber with Velkara, who still knelt on the floor, tears flowing. The nullifier's shaking grew worse. The walls began to crack. Outside the viewports, Mirai could see pieces of the station breaking away, spinning into space. Mirai, Sunhee's voice was urgent over the radio. The transport can't wait much longer. The station is coming apart. Then leave, Mirai said. Get everyone to safety. We're not leaving you, Hyunwoo said. That's an order you can't refuse because I'm not your commander. I'm your friend. And friends don't abandon each other. Mirai felt tears on her own cheeks now. Through the symbol, she could feel all of them. The entire Ink Corps. Their minds connected through the quantum field. They were pouring their strength into her, feeding the symbol, keeping it alive. Together, they were so much stronger than any individual could be. A new voice came over the radio. General Krell, the Varkesh who had offered an alliance. Human fighters, I am ordering all Varkesh forces to stand down. Your symbol user has shown us something we forgot. That our enemies are people too. The war is over. You have won. It's not about winning, Mirai whispered, though she didn't know if anyone could hear her. It never was. The nullifier exploded, but instead of destroying everything, the explosion channeled through Mirai's symbol. The energy transformed, becoming something else. A wave of understanding that spread across every Varkesh ship, every occupied world, every corner of the Empire. For one infinite moment, every conscious being in the sector felt connected. They felt each other's hopes and fears. They understood. Then the moment passed. The symbol faded. The connection broke. Mirai collapsed. She felt hands catching her. Doyen's voice in her ear. I've got you. The nullifier? She managed to ask. Destroyed. But we're alive. You did it. They were pulled onto the transport seconds before the core chamber ripped apart. Through the viewport, Mirai watched the station break into pieces, scattering like stars. The trip back to Earth was silent. Everyone was exhausted. 3 members of the Ink Corps had died in the fighting. Their bodies were secured in the cargo hold, to be buried with honor. But the mission was complete. The nullifier was destroyed, and something had changed in the Varkesh. Mirai could feel it. The echo of the symbol still lingered in the quantum field. In the weeks that followed, the Varkesh Empire fractured. Not violently, but gradually. Different factions emerged, some wanting to continue the war, others seeking peace. General Krell kept his word and withdrew all forces from Earth. Negotiations began. Not between conqueror and conquered, but between equals. Mirai was asked to attend the peace talks. She refused. She was done being a symbol, done being a weapon. She just wanted to go home, but home didn't exist anymore. The city she had grown up in was scarred by war. The cafe where she used to draw was rubble. Her old apartment had been destroyed in the fighting. She walked through Seoul's streets trying to find something familiar. Everything had changed. Doyen found her sitting in a park, staring at the sky. His wounds had healed, leaving new scars to match his old ones. He sat down beside her without speaking. After a long silence, Mirai said, I can't use the symbols anymore. What? After the nullifier. After the final symbol. Something broke inside me. Or maybe something healed. But when I try to draw now, nothing happens. They're just pictures again. Is that a good thing or a bad thing? I don't know. I saved the world with the symbols. But I also killed people, lost friends, changed everything. Now that it's over, I don't know who I am anymore. You're Mirai, Doyen said simply. The girl who always saw the world,